Like to call the meeting to order, show all council members are in attendance, and I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Tonight, we have 3 public hearings. If you'd like to address council, please step forward, give your name and address for the record. This is time and place for a public hearing in relation to Resolution 17-227, a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and cost estimate for the levee certification project, drainage MR2, project number Public Works 17-06B. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone wishing to address the council in regards to this matter? Seeing none, what's the council's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing on Resolution 17-228, a resolution granting final plat approval of a 27-lot residential subdivision to be known as Whispering Oaks Phase 2. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone wishing to speak to the council in regards to this matter? Is there a motion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. This is time and place for a public hearing on Resolution 17-229, a resolution approving the plans, specification, form of contract, and cost estimate for the Council Bluffs Fire Station Number 6 renovation project. Is proof of publication on file?
Yes, it is.
Have any written protests been received?
None received.
Is there anyone wishing to speak to the council in regards to this matter? Is there a motion from the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance 6310, ordinance establishing the College Road Urban Revitalization Area within the city limits of Council Bluffs.
Motion to approve. Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6311, ordinance to amend Chapter 15.03 definitions by amending Section 15.03.595 school to include post-secondary schools.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
That's nothing to do with this one. You're fine.
All those if there's no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6312, ordinance to amend Chapter 15.24 supplemental use and site development regulations by amending Section 15.24.040 fence regulations.
Motion to deny per staff recommendation.
Second.
Is there discussion?
If we could, we have to set that matter for public hearing.
Okay. So.
Oh, because it's a first reading of an ordinance.
So we're,
Oh, I see, yeah. I
All right,
wasn't
so
on that.
does,
I'll withdraw my second.
I will withdraw my motion and set for public hearing.
I will second.
is there a discussion?
Is that then when the best time would be to ask more about the background, or can we do that
and
tonight?
have the gentleman from Camping World come up, because he's here tonight, but.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is
Should
that
he come
okay?
up, should he come up for the public
Discussion,
hearing,
yeah,
or
yeah.
tonight, or both?
You can talk 5 minutes tonight, can't you?
And while he's coming up, I just want to let you know that the previous ordinance, that gentleman was out of town today, and I told him his first reading, he didn't need to be here, but he'll be here in 2 weeks, so.
Oh, okay.
Schools.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, in the school, yeah.
And then,
Scott, do you want to come up now, or do you want to wait till the public hearing, both?
Can I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Name and address for the record, though.
Scott Ryan, 5016 North 142nd Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68164.
we had some questions today about because you were part of the development of this to begin with.
Yes.
And so we just kind of wanted to know the background of how we got to this point.
So we obviously hired it out. Part of where our land was, since we've been there since 2007, we just weren't big enough. We just didn't have enough room. And so the land behind it, we bought, I think it was 5 acres is what we expanded to. And so our contractor did all the work as far as getting the approvals and everything else. And after it was done, we had all the fence up and all the new lot and everything, all the campers, and they told us that it was 100 yards short of where it should be to the houses. And the thing that we didn't know anything about it, but it's a huge thing for us to have this. Before we had that lot, that whole area that is now that we made new, we had numerous break-ins. It was where a lot of homeless ended up kind of being there. We would even leave a few campers open during the winter months so they could at least have some place to stay. But as it got warmer, my voice is going. As it got warmer, they were literally just stealing everything. And if we didn't leave it unlocked, they were breaking into it, which repairing a door is almost, you almost just leave it open, let them take everything they can because it's cheaper. It was 20, 30 grand a month. The fence, obviously, with the fence up, 0, not 1. So it's we're looking at a couple $100,000 probably a year with no fence. There really is no other way to, we've looked into, hiring people to just stand there all night, and that's not going to work because there's no way we can keep them out of there otherwise. I've talked to the people behind it because in between our fence and where there's a couple duplexes, I think, or like a few houses, it's just a marsh swamp, if you will, kind of spot. But I randomly went up to them and just knocked on the door to see, and just say, hey, I want to make sure you don't have any problems. We've been here a little bit. And what they told me, 2 out of the 3 told me, was that there's no more homeless activity. They don't see anybody there anymore because basically the lot kind of took that. Now, in between their homes is probably 5-6 foot of grass, water, swamp. The only thing I can think that maybe would help, if it would be okay, would to maybe put signs on the outside. We have signs on the inside, but maybe signs on the outside letting them. But, the one thing I know and we know is that without that there, it's easily $200,000 to $300,000 a year, and that's easily, that's without that. We have no other way of stopping people from getting in or out.
So time frame when, just to clarify, because we had a discussion this afternoon, and I don't know exact time frame, so I'm asking everybody up here as well as Scott. You put the fence in, hired a contractor to put the fence in.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, electric fences weren't allowed in Council Bluffs.
Well, we had already had a fence around the small portion of our,
But it wasn't electric, correct?
yeah, it was.
When you came to us the first time to put the ordinance in place originally, because we didn't have an ordinance that would allow you to do that type of electric fencing, you guys had already put the fence up, but you couldn't legally turn it on because,
Okay.
and so you guys.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
So you
Okay.
assisted in writing the ordinance. You had the
Well, I
company,
didn't, but-
the company that put it up for you
Right.
assisted in writing the ordinance,
Yeah.
and which included those setbacks.
Which I think
Right.
was guard dog.
And so then
Hard dog,
you expanded, is what I'm hearing, after that. So the original fence was put up and met the ordinance.
Yes,
And then you expanded your lot,
yep,
and that same company put up this fence, and they're the ones that helped write the ordinance with the setback.
yes.
Okay. What would the impact on your lot be if you actually complied with the setbacks?
Well, we'd probably have to, I don't even know, because it's, the 5 acres that we added, half of it was employee parking, but the part where we'd have to bring it back would be our entire lot. So, probably, I'm not sure it would be worth it. We are looking to get the land directly, that would be north of where ours is, to move our service center, build a brand-new center there. And, then we wouldn't need that there when we could move our inventory all the way to the back. We wouldn't have to worry about it. But until that happens, until they buy that, like I said, it's without the fence, and I don't know how high the fence is, 9, 10 feet. You know, there's nothing. We can't lock them. We can't do anything.
Which was why we passed the ordinance. I remember at that
Sure.
time you were having tremendous problems.
It's-
What I don't understand is that since your company and the company that installed this next fence was so incredibly involved in the original ordinance with those setbacks, how this oversight happened, because the ordinance was created specifically for you. Mm-hmm. And so I have a real issue. Because I had, in the beginning, I don't know, I think you were here, and I had a real issue with, this electrified fence. And then when we did the setback from residential, it's like, okay, don't have to worry about the kids so much. It's going to be back away from houses. Well, now it's not. So, yeah, I've got some real concerns about completing the work and in violation of the ordinance.
There's also, so the fence got put up contrary to the law, and then we made it legal after we worked with you, and that was a compromise that I really had to grit my teeth to accept, because I just didn't like having electrified fences in town. Out on my grandpa's farm, that was a different matter. Keep the raccoons out of the sweet corn, fine. But in town, there are a lot more kids running around than there were out in the country on the farm, and there they would have known not to touch it. But here, so it gets put in, it's not legal. We make it legal under a compromise that I, again, accepted, because for the same reason, actually, as Councilmember White, that it was going to be 300 foot from residences, plus there was going to be there's that outer fence. So you got the electrical fence, and then you have that outer fence that it wouldn't make it impossible. That's true if there's some kid, attractive nuisance, wants to, but it'd make it harder.
Right.
So, it'd make it harder for somebody to accidentally anyway, or to even negligently touch it. But here, when it was expanded, contrary to the ordinance that you pushed for, the outer fence is too short too. I saw that in the staff packet write-up, and so, it just doesn't seem like there's, to the greatest respect, a great effort to comply. And I know there was talk, the old expression of sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, but it's tough for me, honestly, because, when other people, other businesses or other residents in this town want to, they get stolen from, and it matters to them. And that's a point that in fairness, you've raised quite a bit more than I have, Councilmember White, but I agree with it. We don't let them do it at all. And so we crafted an ordinance that, yes, applies to a lot more businesses, but really was created for you, because you weren't following the law, and then you proceeded not to follow the law you helped write. And then you want us to make it good again. And now we're under 200 foot from people's houses. And I appreciate you say 2 of the 3, and I don't doubt your word, that 2 of the 3 say that live there currently don't have a problem with it. But I just think, as a matter of policy, that's a bad idea to be granting exceptions to begin with, but creating things and then allowing people to break the law, then letting them get away with it, and then they break it again, and then ask for it to be forgiven again. I just have a hard time seeing how other people wouldn't get that, but residential folks don't get that at all. I just struggle, to be honest with you, why that's fair to them or everybody else. I think we cut you a really good break, and I'm just not willing to go any farther. But you're entitled to a public hearing, so I'm going to vote. Just so you understand, that may seem weird. Why am I going to vote for it tonight? Because you're entitled to go to second reading so that the public has a full chance and you to speak. But I'm being really straightforward with you. I really have a hard time seeing how I'm going to support this, the reasons I've said.
So we're setting the public hearing tonight.
Yeah.
Jody, can you do like you did with, I forget who I asked you to poll, but can you ask the zoning board of adjustment, email them and ask them to get back with us and let us know, or can we get minutes as well from that meeting with their denial for a variance? and opinions from all the board members on that board.
Okay.
I don't remember who I had a poll before.
Well, didn't part of it, maybe if I could, didn't Dick partly address, I don't know what was in their minds, fair enough, but didn't he had a, he gave the applicable legal test for the
Yeah,
granting of
the
a
5
variance.
different things, but-
Sure, maybe it ought, if you don't mind, maybe he could repeat it so those folks will know.
For a variance to be granted by the zoning board. Now, the planning commission has already also looked at this as well. They made their recommendation to you, but the zoning board was asked to give them a variance. To do that, the applicant has to establish that they meet all 5 criteria that you have to meet. And essentially, the most difficult one is that your property would have no reasonable value without the variance being granted. Another one is that they would not bestow a favor on you that would not be granted to anyone else. There has to be some hardship established, generally by geography or the shape of the lot. It can't be a hardship that has been created by the applicant themselves or a former owner of the property. So it's really a difficult test, and it just didn't, to the zoning board, it just didn't fit the authority they had to do, had to work with to grant these individuals essentially a 103-foot variance from the 300-foot buffer.
All right. Can you pull the planning commission too? That is the other one that, and they did recommend. That's the other one I had you before. Can you pull both?
The other part of the staff write-up indicated that the fire department is the one that let us know that the fence that's up right now doesn't comply with the 8-foot height. And then the building division, they were opposed to the text amendment, and they said that they also didn't even get a permit to put the fence up. And then community development was opposed to the text amendment. So, those 3 departments also were opposed. So there was no permit pulled. It didn't meet the city ordinance.
So the fence is too short? The one
Yeah,
we
it
have?
says
The
right
outer
here
fence.
that.
The outside one, the
That's
one
to
that
keep
the
kids
outside
from
one.
being able to
touching,
get to that one.
getting electrocuted.
The electric one.
Yep.
The one that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wasn't in charge of doing all of that. I don't know why they can't, why they didn't.
The chain link perimeter fence around the electrically charged security fence does not comply with the 8-foot height requirement as stated.
So it can be
Okay.
taller?
It has to be a certain distance so that
Outside
kids
one.
won't be
Right.
likely, or
No, I
other
get
people,
that.
but especially
Absolutely.
kids.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you don't want kids electrocuted.
So can it be 10 feet high,
Yeah.
15 feet high?
I don't know about 15,
I
but.
thought it had to be
There's
exactly
probably a height restriction.
Yeah, there's a certain height
Wasn't
that.
it 8 or 10?
High enough, too high.
You'll have to pull the ordinance.
Well, there's a limit to
It
how
is
high
right.
fences can be in general.
Yeah,
Just right.
Baby bears.
Too high, too cold.
I missed the reference, sorry.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
what I was-
evidently
sorry.
you were supposed to get a permit to put that up also. And your contractor didn't pull a permit.
Yeah, like I said, this all kind of hit us. I mean,
Thought you hired a reputable company.
I'm running the store, yeah, I mean.
And it was the same company that put in your
Yeah.
fence the first time. It might,
That's so
maybe
weird.
they would come, they came when we were doing the ordinance thing, maybe they should be at the public hearing, because
Is that the 13th?
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll be here.
perfect.
'Cause I called
Because
them and
otherwise
told
they're
them.
gonna have to move it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
right.
at
I
their
mean,
expense.
and then you,
Yeah, you may,
way.
yeah, that's obviously your business between the two
Sure,
of you,
sure.
but I imagine there'll be a
Absolutely.
discussion there. It would be if it were me, but,
Yeah, well, I didn't know about all these other things they didn't,
and the bad thing is you're tagged with, because it's yours or your company's.
Sure.
You're ultimately tagged. Now, you may have something in between you and the installer, that's your business, but you're tagged with the result, bluntly put.
oh, yeah. I
Because it was
understand.
done for you,
Yeah,
and it just hasn't been done right.
Just a general comment, I guess. I don't like to have this conversation going on. One, for sure, the permit should have been pulled. Two, we set the 300-foot requirement. But for a business the size of your guys is that expanded and bought 5 acres and brought more inventory in and is doing more in sales and things like that, I hate to put a burden on you guys as well as the fence company. I'm sure they're not from here, but I don't want to penalize a company that's growing in this community. So obviously we're setting the public hearing tonight. Conversations are for sure going to be had before the public hearing, as well as with the fire department. We're going to poll these guys and see what what we can do, I don't know what the best option is. Maybe it's take it down. Maybe it's, I don't know what the best option is. Maybe there's a fine, pay the permit. I don't know. But I think we're all going to set the public hearing, obviously, tonight.
Yes.
And so
Okay.
on the 13th, I would invite you to come back.
I will, appreciate it.
Bring the fence company
Oh, we will.
and
They'll be there.
and have, I mean, do everything you can on your side to present us with more information as well.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
For clarification on the motion, is it just to set the public hearing, or is it to pass it to second consideration and set the public hearing?
Are we obligated to pass
You
consideration?
are not.
Okay.
I'm just setting public hearing because we're obligated to do that.
Suppose we could deal with that, and if someone else wanted to make another motion, they could, I suppose.
No, I think that's,
Fine, thank
Maybe
you.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, the first and second concur that they are setting public hearing and not passing the second consideration. Is there further discussion from the council? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6313, ordinance to amend Title 9 Traffic, Chapter 9.88 Speed Regulations by amending Section 9.88.080 Schedule of Posted Streets.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Some of these are going to be changing on these streets, so be paying attention to the speed limits. 'Cause that guy in the back will get you.
Well, not a whole lot of them, and some of
Oh,
them,
yeah.
just some of them, the street names get updated.
Yeah, but there's a couple. that are
Harry
changing.
Langdon, I think, was the big one, wasn't it? Was
Yeah.
there another, am I missing one there?
That's the main one.
That's
yeah.
the main
But
one.
there's a couple of small, yeah.
Yeah. Part of it, try to standardize, I guess, the speed so that you don't have fast changes in the speed for no apparent reason. Yeah.
All right, further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6309, an ordinance to amend Chapter 1.70 Board of Library Trustees by amending Section 1.70.110 Annual Report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Motion to waive third.
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion to waive? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6305, an ordinance to amend the zoning map as adopted by reference in Section 15.02.070 by rezoning the northwest quarter, southwest quarter of Section 177443, except the state right-of-way along with that part of the southwest quarter of Section 177443, except the state right-of-way and railroad lying north of the railroad right-of-way from A2 Parks, Estates, and Agricultural District to I-1 General Industrial District as defined by Chapter 15.21.
motion to approve?
Second.
Is there discussion?
With this long one, it just reminded me, I asked for, last council meeting, for addresses, physical addresses. I know we have to have the legal, but to help people out in the audience understand, do I need to make a motion? How does that, so I make sure that happens? Because, I mean, do we have to have something on the agenda to make sure that happens, or
I
can
think we made that
This
request to
one's-
staff, and
And this one's been on for 3 readings, so they didn't
just
resubmit it,
continue?
so
Okay,
Yeah.
so
I'll remind them.
So new
not to.
ones going forward. Yeah,
Going forward,
it's
yeah.
an excellent suggestion.
physical addresses, yeah.
and while we're
when
in
they
that
exist.
same vein, did you get your traffic study?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion on ordinance 6305? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Ordinance 6307, an ordinance to amend Section 3.44 pawnbrokers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-230, resolution approving the urban revitalization plan for the College Road Urban Revitalization Area.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-231 is the number that's supposed to be on there. Resolution of intent to vacate that portion of 11th Avenue extending from the east right-of-way line of the South 8th Street to the west right-of-way line of South 7th Street and abutting blocks 12 and 13 Riddle subdivision.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Do you intend to vote?
Aye.
Oh, okay, so I didn't know if it caught you.
Didn't that cough sound like an aye?
I couldn't tell.
Resolution 17-232, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a management agreement for the operation, management, and maintenance of the Dodge Riverside Golf Course.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
We talked at length for
Yes.
3.5 hours about it this afternoon. I'm not comfortable voting on it tonight. I just don't. We got the agreement Friday at 4 o'clock. There wasn't enough time for me to be comfortable with it. We've got a number of other things that were discussed this afternoon in the study session, which you can watch live on Facebook. Not live now, but it was live. You can watch on Facebook if you want to watch for 3 hours. It was riveting. But I'm not comfortable with approving this tonight.
I'm just, as a shorthand, yeah, not to repeat all of that, and you're welcome. I just think right now we're all, as taxpayers, subsidizing the golf course. And in a time of budgets that are quite clearly, I think the writing's on the wall that they'll have to get even tighter. I just have a hard time looking people in the eye and telling them we are subsidizing a golf course when we have other things we can't afford to pay for, or to the level we'd like. I think we talk a lot about how we want to leverage the power that is, harness the power of private business to come in and in this case, run the golf course. We're a city. We don't know how to run a concession stand or a restaurant. We're a government. I don't really like competing with the private business either, and we just don't do that. Saying that, we have a lot of amenities in the community. Unlike this one, as Councilmember White had mentioned earlier, this one competes with private business, whereas the pools, for the most part, do not, and the parks certainly do not. But ultimately, you know, if we can bring in a private business that works a lot of courses throughout the region and elsewhere, has a proven track record, any profit, right now we're not getting any at all, but any profit, we would get 80% of it. As a private business, they're able to engage in efficiencies and new ideas that we as a government just, even if we had that capacity to do it, which we really don't, we can't do in some ways because of legal prohibitions. But so we bring them in because right now we're losing 6 figures a year that you and I are having to eat, which we could spend on other things, roads, for example. Or we could keep doing that, or we could wait for other proposals to come forward. We could decide to go into the concession or restaurant business with your tax money. Or we could bring in a business that has a proven track record and can leverage and can advertise and use its efficiencies of scale with its other businesses and encourage them to come to our course too, the people that come to its existing courses throughout the area. And the worst thing that would happen is we'd have a more efficient system that, the worst case scenario, lost the same amount of money. More likely scenario, lost less and probably turns a profit within a year or two. The current system's unsustainable, and I think if we keep this up, whoever's in these chairs in a few years' time, I just don't see how they're going to be voting to keep a golf course at all. And I don't play golf, never have, but I like the fact that we have one, and it's a good one, and I'd like to see it stay, but, I just don't see how it's going to stay. I don't think the people are going to stand for it if we keep having to subsidize it. And doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is not a solution. We have one proposal on the table that I believe all of us earlier this year said we were open to looking to maybe going with a private company, and there was a process, and there were 3 people who bid, and this one's head and shoulders, and everybody agrees, as do I, with that they're head and shoulders above the competition, who it was good, but this one was phenomenal. They've got a proven track record. I think we ought to go with them. The worst thing that'll happen is what we already have. More likely, we're going to stop using your tax money to subsidize a golf course. And so I hope that we move forward with this, because the current restaurateur is leaving. So if we don't have anything in place in 2 months, beginning of the new calendar year, it'll go dark. I don't know what we do then. Then we've got a building and we have a lot of employees without anything really to do. I don't know. Or we could go with this plan with a proven track record and hopefully make some money so that you don't have to keep paying your tax money for a golf course.
Nate, I don't want you to think I'm telling you that this isn't the best option. I'm telling you I want more time to look at it. I realize it's already the end of October, but you agreed today. We got it late. We got it Friday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That is
Agree.
not enough time to go over this analysis of what this company can do. So I'm not telling you that I'm not going to approve this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm telling you I think we need more time to evaluate it. And that sucks that it's November when we do that.
I greatly appreciate and value your opinion. I just think that we don't have the time. I think that.
Well, you don't want to make a rash decision.
I don't think it's rash. I think at the last minute, and I don't blame folks. That what has caused this, I think, concern among many people. I'm certainly not going to speak for you, but from what people have said is there are a lot of folks who work for the golf course, especially in seasonal maintenance and elsewhere, who are concerned about change. And I get it. If I were in their shoes, I'd be worried too. I don't think they have reason to be, but that's easy for me to say. So they've come last minute with not a proposal, but just a concept that they think that we could, if we take it on as a city, we could run a concession stand or a restaurant better than the way it has been run. But I just think it's too late, and their proposal isn't costed out. They don't have the experience, and it's no disrespect to
I'm
them.
not putting any validation on the proposal.
Okay, I just think at this late stage, the inevitable result is, I wish we had more time and that we got it late is unacceptable. I agree with that. Absolutely, can't deny that. But here we are, and if we don't do this, the restaurant closes January. Golf, I guess, I don't know whether this company will keep staying around. I mean, they're not going to sit and wait forever. They're ready to go. They bid on it and won a competition among 3 good bidders. And I don't know what we do if we keep going forward with what we got now to study it, continue to study it. We've looked the last couple of years, and I know the mayor and his staff have tried to cut expenses and to a large degree have cut it, but there's only so much we can cut with the existing structure. If we can study something to death, and I just think that kicks the can and has for at least another year or two, is probably having the taxpayers subsidize a golf course. And I just don't think government ought to be doing that with people's money. So I sympathize with you. I just think I just don't think we have the time. This was a procedure that was put in place. It's a good company. We could do a heck of a lot worse. I think we'll do really well.
So
Just
now
to be clear, there is still some subsidizing even with this company. I mean, you're saying we don't want to, as a government, subsidize. We are still, because we're going to pay the company, and we are going to make up any shortfalls there are first. So I don't want people thinking that we're choosing zero money going towards the golf course or money going to the golf course, because either way, there's still a chance the city's going to be subsidizing the golf course. That's just the way it is in the management agreement even.
Now, we do have a representative here from Landscapes, and I did have one question that was brought up by another person during the break, and that's,
Mark, can you step to the microphone
Is
and
that
give your
the one that
address?
Justin was talking
Your name and address
Yeah,
for
it's
the
a good
record.
question. It's a really
I
good question.
can't believe we didn't
It's
think
a really
to
good
ask it.
question.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so
Let him
name
do
and
it.
address for the,
Mark Young, 14108 Greenfield Road, Omaha, Nebraska, 68138.
so the other golf courses that you manage, have those cities recognized a profit? assist in paying salaries and things because there wasn't enough revenue to cover?
I would say public and private, that initial first year, it's contemplated in the budget that there are going to be shortfalls. And that's part of the implementation process. And golf is a tough business. You throw in the food and beverage operation, it's a very tough business. And so the initial part of that, unfortunately, it's not a magic cure. You don't have a staff. Everything starts today, and it's all fixed. It's building a staff, implementing systems, and so it is going to be a process. And I think that's where, if you look at the pro forma, that is why it contemplates those shortfalls that initial year. To being completely honest, and so.
And Mark, I don't know the answer to this. I don't have the pro forma in front of me. This alternate proposal is estimating a $138,000 profit in food and beverage, and that's your area of expertise. You run that department for landscapes. Is that realistic, or?
The term profit can be defined in many different ways. I think Brian's here somewhere. I am here. Brian, would you be leaving if that were the case? I mean, correct. So my point is to be realistic. The food and beverage operation at a golf course, to be successful, is truly an amenity to the constituents. It's an amenity to the golf course. So it's not a windfall. It's not generating $200,000 in pure profit. It's truly creating more for the experience to the golfer and the non-golfer alike. But when we're looking at a food and beverage operation like this, and if you look at the revenue projection, we actually projected significantly less than I think the current concessionaire, and that was with the intent. We're not trying to be a full-service restaurant and bar in the evenings. It's truly being an amenity to the golfer, while at the same time subsidizing the business with growing the event side of the business. That's something our company is very good at. We've got a very dedicated team. And by growing the event side of the business, that's where the profitability in food and beverage will grow. But to throw out a 140, 150, 160,000 in profit in food and beverage, I would question it. I would want to see how they calculate profit. I mean, is it gross profit? Is it net profit? Are they factoring in occupancy? Are they factoring in, all the taxes associated? I wouldn't be comfortable with that.
You have how many years of experience in food and beverage?
Well, let me just say 20 years in golf-related food and beverage, and I'll be honest with you, 20 years ago, that first 3 months I was in the business, I thought I was going to run the other direction, because I tried to be a restaurant manager instead of a food and beverage operator in the golf business. It is a different animal. I have been with the company 20 years, and I oversee a portfolio of 46 properties, hopefully 47 by the end of this evening. And we are profitable in every operation that we have. After the first year, the food and beverage operation, typically our goal is to break even while growing the staff. I know I've heard mentioned too, staffing food and beverage. You're dealing not just with a different breed of employee, you're dealing with a whole different set of exposure, from alcohol service, food service, and it doesn't matter if it's run in-house or outsourced. It's a city property, so any operation, there's significant exposure if it's not managed properly, and that's what I'd like to say our company is very good at. And I appreciate short notice receipt of a proposal contract. I would say that the one thing, we are neighbors. Our company is located just down the street in Lincoln, our corporate office, and we wouldn't pursue a project that we didn't believe in. We will walk away from a project if we don't feel we can truly help it. Being our neighbor, having a team right next to it, the reason I want to say that, we don't want egg on our face. We don't want the city and the constituents to have to continue funding shortfalls. That's where, if we didn't believe we could help, we wouldn't be here. So.
What, in these courses you run, and the percentage of profit that's paid to the city, does that cover your guys' fee normally?
Absolutely. In fact, being a nonprofit as a municipality, oftentimes we're able to build that contributing factor to reinvest in new things. If it's not directly to the golf course, dealing with a lot of enterprise funds, I heard somebody mention there's other projects that we'd like to be spending money on, but we're funding the golf courses. One of our goals is to position municipalities to take those additional profits that they never received and be able to reinvest. And for us, it's a really good thing because we also own a construction company. And oftentimes we've earned more work just by delivering what we promised and more. And so that's one of those things we like to see, and we see the same potential at a facility like this.
Out of those 46 that you're talking about, though, would it, like ours, would it cover the 60,000 that we're going to be paying you a year to manage it?
I think we contemplate that in year two, and we absolutely believe that, or we wouldn't put it in writing. And the reason why I say that, back to egg on our face, it does us no good to throw out a bunch of numbers. It's not like we're putting a bunch of money in our pocket and walking away. We have a vested interest as well, and we've been in business 40 years as a golf construction company, and the founder of our company wouldn't allow us to bid on something that we didn't feel confident that we can deliver on, because he's proud of that reputation and we're proud to work for him.
So tell me this, if we postpone this 2 weeks, is it going to affect your guys' timeline?
It'd be more like 3 weeks.
I'm
just
going to be, for me personally, 2 weeks isn't going to hurt anything. I think, back to what Mr. Watson said, the advantage of sooner than later is really implementation. Even though a start date may not be till January 1st, new calendar year, we begin as soon as we have an agreement. We begin
Correct.
working.
Right, no, I understand
and
that.
so the 2 weeks, that's just another 2-week delay.
3
I would
weeks.
love to leave here and reach out to our team, hey, guess what? We're moving forward. But if the council needs that 2 weeks, we don't want it to be a deal breaker. I mean, we want to be partners with the city.
3 weeks.
It'll be 3 weeks.
It'd be 3 weeks.
Till the November 13th.
Okay, now that's pushing it. Let's go. 2 weeks I was okay with.
Right. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big deal to our community, and it not only sitting up here, but I think a lot of constituents, and it just 2 days really to look over this agreement and make the best decision for the community. I don't think that's long enough.
Oh, what I want to,
Not that it's the be-all, end-all, but, so your statement, we'll throw out the proposal that came today. So we're left with two proposals. That's to lose 200,000 round numbers, or to potentially lose in the first year 67,000 based on the pro forma and go to profitability the second year. And I don't know that that's a tough decision for me.
I do want to address the short time frame. Nobody likes to get a contract, on Friday. However, this is what I would say is that earlier in the year, the mayor, I think each of us met with him, but I'm just going to go with my experience. He called me in. He showed me the golf course losses. He showed me the study that had been done. They'd hired Dunn to find out, where the issues were, and wanted to know, would I be open-minded towards doing private management on the course? That if the numbers didn't come in at the end of that fiscal year showing a savings, because the golf course had been told, you can't keep having these losses. And I said, absolutely. I've been a big advocate of trying to get a park on the East End for years. There's no money for that. But we lose the money we lose at that golf course every year. We could have had a park put in out there. So I'm very open to it. And then we knew it was coming. It was actually in the newspaper, so we all knew it was coming. I was able to read and understand the contract. I had a couple of issues with it. Called the city attorney today. These are the things I'd like to see maybe a little different. One of it was the termination timeframe. Another one was I wanted to see some addresses changed in there, but I definitely had an opportunity to read through this contract and understand it. Not only that, I'm not the lawyer on the board. We've got 3 lawyers on this council, and I'd have to presume that if I could read and understand this contract and make the phone calls to the city attorney for the few things I didn't understand, there's no way I could do that better than those 3 attorneys. So I know,
Well, I know I
that
can't.
they had an opportunity. They would be able to read through this 10 times quicker than me, because I have to stop and say, okay, wait a minute, what's this legalese? So, if we're looking at holding this up and not voting on it tonight and waiting 3 weeks for everybody to get a chance to look at it, unless you're planning on not going with this option, there'd be no reason to do that, because this is the only option. I mean, this is the only thing presented to us. Now, if you're going to make that decision in 3 weeks, then we can't possibly, as a city, respond starting, 3 weeks from now to then gear up and get people employed to keep the restaurant open. Then that's when Nate's saying you're talking about the building going dark, is if you're planning on making that decision, there'd be no reason to postpone that unless you're planning on considering that option. And I think that's what he means by the building going dark.
Considering the
And
option.
again, if I read and understood this contract, the 3 attorneys on this council read and understood this contract, there's no way they couldn't have.
It's not a matter
Unless
of
they-
reading and understanding. It's a time that we didn't have. I mean, for one thing, we have day jobs. I had a very busy day today at work. I don't have time today, the day before a council meeting, to read through a contract and contact the city attorney.
We got it on Friday. I read it over the weekend.
At like 4:30, correct. I mean, again, that's the point. Normally, our deadline is Wednesday to get things. I mean, it really is. To get something at 4:30 on a Friday, maybe we had plans. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is, I did get to read through it. Did I get to read through it extensively? No. And I had a lot of questions today that I really did want to hear. I wanted to hear the proposal from the Parks Board. I wanted to hear the proposal from the employees. I wanted to hear from Larry. We heard all that up until 6:45. There's not enough time, to me anyway, to digest everything we heard today and make a big decision like this. To me, it's such a big decision. Could I hurry up and try to make my mind up? Sure, I could. But would I feel good about the decision? No. Because we heard a lot of things today,
Sure.
along with getting this late, that I would like to think about. I would like to think, do I trust that this is the right decision for the city and for the taxpayers or not? I mean, and I don't feel comfortable making that decision today with how long the study session went, with all the information we got, along with getting this late. I mean, we just didn't have enough time.
And
I-
understand.
What if we delay it for 48 hours and have a special meeting on it, so you get those extra 48 hours? Would you be comfortable then?
I don't have the time I could do it this week, I don't think. And I don't know that everybody is. I mean,
I just don't think the city, but if you had gotten it on Wednesday, you would have gotten 2 more days.
correct, but that's when it's scheduled. I mean, I have scheduled for council tonight. I have other things scheduled for the next 3 days. I mean,
Well, and
I just feel like if we're going to tube this as an option, we should just do it now. I think delaying it to death does the process a disservice. I think if we're going to vote it up or down, we ought to just get on with it.
So
That's fine. I mean,
the
then-
meeting,
If you're
meeting
against
that I
it,
had-
we ought just to vote now. Delaying it, I'm just not a fan of killing things by delay.
I don't
Well, that's what I'm
think-
telling you is I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if
what
I'm
I'm
for or
telling you
against it
too.
right now.
This might be the right option, but I need more time to think about it. And the meeting I had with the mayor was with Matt and Wendy both. We sat in the same numbers you got. And my meeting was, yeah, we want to do that study that the company, that Landscapes did. That was my meeting. I never got a meeting that said, yes, I want to take it private. I never had that meeting.
I handed you
The study was done at that point.
The study was done. It was part of the package I gave you.
I had, just speaking about my meeting, I had a considerable discussion about the merits of government running a restaurant or contracting it out to private business, and I was gung-ho, absolutely gung-ho, and said, move forward, let's get out of the business of running private business. And that was my meeting, and so I said, let's send it out, see if there's interest out there among the businesses, because nobody wants the business, we couldn't do it. And 3 companies came forward, and they had a process throughout the summer, and
We compete
I mean, we're competing against 3 other golf courses in this side of the river, as I
I know, but we
understand it.
compete with private business all the time. I mean, we just put a rental hall down at our city park, and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of rental halls that we compete with now, as a government body.
Well,
And
not in-
then,
not in a
how about all the
park.
real estate the city owns?
Well,
Competing with a lot of real estate agents.
Well, and there's been a long-term plan, mainly my colleague to my left, to spend those off the books. Now, it's taken years,
I
but you
agree.
should
I'd
have
love
seen
to
it.
spend 'em off the books.
Yeah, before
we
your time on the
compete with
council, we
private
used,
Real estate agents, because we're not buying those properties because we want to compete.
They don't
for
have the
real-
opportunity to sell them.
Well, absolutely. They're all on the website. We just don't pay a commission. There's a big difference.
well,
We don't make a commission either. We don't charge a commission either. It's not competition.
ultimately, we have a good number, let's be real about it. We have a good number of employees who are concerned that they may lose their jobs. So at the last minute, they've raised a lot of, and I would too in their position. I really would. I don't fault them, but they're concerned, and so they come with an idea that, hey, have you considered this? But they haven't costed it out. They don't have anybody lined up to run it. We don't have the systems in place to do that kind of payroll, so the taxpayer would have to pay for one because we don't have tipped employees. So we'd have to meet those laws, and I have to deal with the labor laws in my day job. It's insanely complex, and our software is going to be very expensive. So ultimately, we talk a lot on this council about how we don't want large government and how we don't want to compete with business. But we need to mean that also when there are employees who are concerned, because ultimately we have to make the decision that's best and then for the taxpayer. And if someone happens to lose their job, I don't think they will. Their benefits may be less because they wouldn't be city employees anymore. I think if you ask the average taxpayer whether we should make the decision on whether someone might lose their government benefits as an employee or and then we continue to subsidize it with their taxpayer dollars, I think you know the answer.
I don't think it
That's
has
not the
anything to do with jobs. I literally, the gentleman I met today.
But
and
that's-
Tom
that's
are the
why
only
they've
two
raised
people
it.
I know that work at the golf course.
But that's the only thing that's brought this forward. There's been no one has raised, at least with me, no one has raised any other objection. And the 7 months since March that we had this original discussion to move forward with looking at this as an option. It was only right now in late October.
It actually came up in June timeframe is when it first came up. And I agree, we probably should have pushed more then to get answers from city staff. I will be the first to admit, we should have asked in June to give us, could they do, could you do a proposal for us? That's the one thing I regret that we did not
I think we
do.
need to go forward in March.
I did,
And
speaking
I
for
would say
myself.
too that I think that people in this room and
We're
at
all
home
the
need to
same way.
understand that the director of the Parks Department has been very clear, this is his recommendation. He does not believe the city should be involved in doing concessions and running beer stands and dealing with liquor. That's not something he feels that we should be involved in. Asked point blank, is this your recommendation? Yes, it is his recommendation. It's a department head that we've always respected his opinion before. He has more experience in this than any of us do. And if the department head clearly does not believe that the city should be venturing into the food service and beer business, I really have to take that into account.
I don't think any of us are saying we're not going to agree with Larry, though.
Again,
We're not
heard that at
saying that.
6 o'clock
Don't pin us
tonight.
against Larry.
What?
I'm not saying that.
Right.
No, but I guess I don't understand by delaying what,
So we can evaluate and talk with Larry more about it. Have I talked with you at all, Larry? One time with Chris, and that was what, 3 weeks ago? Roughly? 2-3 weeks ago? So one conversation. That's it. I'd like to talk with Larry more about it.
And I would like to hear a number of other opinions too. We all agree, we all share the opinion that the current losses are unacceptable. And that the status quo is not acceptable. So then the question becomes, so what are the viable alternatives to deal with that problem? And I agree with Mr. Watson in that the final issue is not whether or not city employees keep their jobs, and I don't think that's the focus of concern here. The focus of my concern goes a little bit to the process here, because after hearing the staff speak today, and after hearing Mr. Mattson on the Parks Board speak, he framed a very good question, if I could paraphrase him, and the ultimate question was the city staff given an opportunity to present an alternate course of action? And the response to that was no. In fact, that was shut down. And what we have going in is an answer in search of a question. If we have the only viable option, then yes, landscapes management is by far head and shoulders the best to take this on. But when the Parks Board themselves have heartburn with whether or not they have been given an opportunity to evaluate all the information and provide recommendations on this particular question, then I have to hit the pause button a little bit and say, you know, have we really legitimately considered everything that there is to consider? And yes, I appreciate the time crunch, but quite frankly, you know, we've been backed into this place before, and I don't want to be making a decision under the gun without considering all the opinions that are of value and need to be presented. And so that's why I'm very reluctant at this point in time to make a black and white yes/no decision based upon the information that we have before us. And I think the argument that our only two choices are to continue to lose money or go with landscapes management, I think that's a false choice. And we ought to avoid those types of false choices and get to the ground truth of what the people with the expertise are recommending and can put together a plan to execute.
What about,
And
what about
pretty
next Monday?
pretty good argument, but as I told you 3 times already today, 2 years ago, I met with the director of parks, the assistant director, with the golf pro, and the course superintendent. And we had extensive meetings about how they could bring profitability to the golf course. I helped them outline a plan because they didn't come to it easily, because it meant terminating some of their coworkers. They came to this body and asked to increase green fees. Then there was no additional management done towards profitability. The numbers came in, the revenue numbers came in 20% below projections. And at no time did anyone from the golf course come to me and say, Matt, our projections aren't holding water. We need to make adjustments elsewhere. They just let it trickle out the door, and I apologize to them for saying that, but that's exactly what happened. And so to say that they never were given an opportunity to bring profitability to the course is absolutely not true. They had 2 seasons to do that, Al, and I've said that 4 times today during the conversation. So to make an assertion that that isn't true is the furthest thing from the truth.
Well, Mr. Foster, during the study session, conceded that the whole inquiry of alternate proposal was shut down early on.
I believe that was because the council unanimously agreed to move forward with the possibility, it wasn't a decision at the time, I'm not saying that, but the possibility of at least being an open mind of looking towards going to private business. And I'm a great believer in the process too, and so, but as part of that, when the people's elected representatives say something, the bureaucracy, which I have no disrespect for, that's what I do in my day job. You know, when I'm there and I'm told by an elected official, this is what we're going to do, I say, yes, sir. And I stop considering the other model because I've been given my marching orders, and I now make it happen. So I can't really criticize them stopping moving forward with something in response to our directive.
And the proposal as presented to me that was shut down, unless I completely misunderstood what that proposal was that the golf course management staff would take over the management of the course. And my response to Mr. Foster was, I don't see a win in that strategy. Either one, we lose $200,000 to $300,000 for another year, or all of a sudden when they're sharing in the profitability, they make a profit, which would cause me to pause and question why they couldn't do it before they were part of the profit mix. And so I said, I just don't see a win for anybody under that scenario, and if you do, point it out to me. But so that scenario definitely was shut down. The scenario that the city had some magic bullet that for 2 years they sat on and didn't bring forward that could have brought it to profitability, logically doesn't make any sense to me.
What about a 1-week delay?
That's what I was gonna say. I was looking at my calendar before I started. I mean, I don't think we need a full 3 weeks. If we can
I think that's,
come up with a time that works for everybody, or if we do, I don't know how we would do if we have to look at, I mean, I would be fine with not taking the full 3 weeks, but to make the decision right now, like I said, when we've had huge discussions all afternoon, I just don't feel comfortable.
I did. Yeah, my
Well,
But I don't know what everybody's schedules look like, so I think we'd have to figure that out, but.
only on a week.
I'm still interested in hearing from the park board. I mean, we heard from one member expressing reservations about the process.
He was part of the process. He was part of the process, Al. Come on, let's tell the truth.
Well, yes, he was, and he had issues with that process. He verbalized those issues.
He had
and,
no issues until tonight.
I talked with him over the weekend. He sounded like he had a lot of issues before tonight.
He met with myself, Melissa, Larry Foster, and the pro.
Yeah,
before
probably about a
tonight.
month ago, yeah.
He met with all three of you? Is that?
Nope, myself, Melissa, Larry Foster, and the golf pro.
Then I talked with him.
And we actually
At
invited
length over
anybody
the
he was gonna
weekend.
meet at different times. He asked all of us if we would have a meeting with him, so he did
And
try.
you know that when you do that, you need to inform your other council members you're doing that?
I
All
told
of
you,
us,
we
and they
invited,
were
yeah,
on
we
the
let
emails.
everybody knew. There was an
They
email,
were
and we
on the
asked if
emails,
anybody
they
else
knew.
was interested.
I didn't know it actually occurred, to be honest
I
with
just
you.
got an email from Melissa saying that anybody that wanted to go, and I
That he
knew
would
that
meet-
we could only
yeah.
have two, so.
Yeah, there were
once
only
Roger
two.
responded, I didn't even respond. You know, I guess that what I heard today maybe wasn't what you guys heard. What I heard was he thought that this was a really good company. Now, we needed to make a decision. He thought we should hear the proposal from the city employees. The person that brought the proposal to us, we all agree it's not really a proposal. It was just something brought forward. But I would tell you that that person's boss has been on board with this, has told us that it's his recommendation. I would tell you that the Parks Board, I didn't hear they had heartburn. I think that was a big misunderstanding right there, because what we were told was Chris would only speak for himself and not for the board. But that originally they had issue with it, but after seeing this proposal, not as much. And that he didn't have an issue with this proposal and thought highly of the company. He just thought we should also hear what the city employees wanted to do. And I think that interestingly, it keeps going back to, well, they don't have the food, and I get that. You know, it puts them at a disadvantage. But the current vendor's contract was up a year ago. They could have come and said, look, we know we know that we've been making this loss. We're heading into another year. Let's try for a year with this. But they didn't do that. There was no interest in taking over this food service and not renewing the contract. Their own director is the one that recommended renewal. They didn't come to us before that renewed and said, we want to take over food. All of this came tonight. The only reason I even knew there was any opposition from the golf course employees was because I saw their Facebook site. That was it. None of them have ever called me. Their boss didn't call and tell me that there was a problem. So I have to believe it's, the employees want what's best for the course, and they believe that they're best for the course, and I get that because they've done an incredible job for years. But they don't have the financial expertise. They don't even have the backup funds to back up this. We can wait a week. The longest, my motion on the table is to accept. So unless I change my motion, it's gonna, we're gonna vote on it. Now, I'm willing to go out to the 31st. But beyond the 31st, I think that's as much time as you would have had if it would have come in the packet.
No, and that's fine. I would be fine with doing it next week. Like I said, then we've got a
30th
chance to
maybe?
weigh everything that we
30th?
talked about tonight. 30th
Maybe
on
not the
Monday.
31st.
Oh, that's Halloween. That's probably not good for anybody. Let's look at the 30th.
Maybe,
Monday.
and that would be a Monday, so.
Yeah, I mean, that works, but obviously it has to work for everybody.
That gives us time to post it. So,
Because I appreciate it was late, and yes, that has been one of the things I've griped about, and I think your point's valid on that. Generally, things ought to be much earlier. That gives, instead of 48 hours, that gives you, what's a week? 168 hours in a week. I appreciate not all of those are business, but still, I really just think that we can't delay it. That's the very end of October. If this is the route we're going to go, or definitely if it's not, we're going to need a game plan. Because I think we all agreed, correct me if I'm wrong, we've all agreed that what we're doing right now, we can't do anymore.
Correct.
So we're gonna have to come up with something, and we're gonna have 2 months at that point if this ain't it.
Yep, that's my bigger
Agreed.
concern. If this ain't it, then we have to have time to respond to it.
Which
So-
is why I asked to postpone to the next meeting, so we have time to respond. We
Well,
can-
but 3
No,
weeks
but
is
I
too
mean,
long.
If you vote, if the three
For-
of you
for the
vote at the
calendar.
next meeting to not do this and to go ahead with an employee plan of some kind, then we don't have much time to respond to that. With the holidays and everything else, that restaurant's closing Jan 1. So that's why I don't want to put it out 3 more weeks.
Jody, you do civil service, and you have to post it for X number of days and
Oh,
Yeah, it'll
that's
have to be
true.
posted for 24 hours. Oh, for the,
hiring.
yeah.
If we were to
How
hire
long- how
like
long's that
waitresses,
timeframe? Is there,
It'd be up to HR, but they're the ones that do a lot of it, but the civil service meeting is once a month unless they call a special one.
You'll have to write up job descriptions. We don't have any waitresses.
oh yeah, job descriptions for
HR,
waitresses.
that was part of HR, yeah.
And then is there a test or the application process or the rounds?
Depends on the position.
Depends on the position. And we'll have to get the benefit package ready.
We'll have to order the software for the wages for,
Oh, for the sub-minimum
Tips.
wage.
so there'd be a lot to
So-
be done before January 1.
So I'd be willing to agree to a week, because I think you make a valid concern about time, but I just don't think we have more than that. I don't think we've got 3 weeks. I think that's meeting your objection.
It is. I appreciate it, but I guess we don't have 3 weeks if we decide not to go with it. The gentleman here said he does. 3 weeks doesn't gonna make a big difference to him.
Right.
So if
Well,
we
but
go
but
with
but it would
I'm
doubt
not
me.
worried about him. I'm
Worried.
worried about if you three
Right, I
decide to
understand.
vote this down, I'm worried about our ability to keep the golf course open and to keep the restaurant going, to get all this done. I'm not concerned about this company. I think that they're bona fide, great company. I think they'll wait for us to make our decision. My bigger concern is we wait 3 weeks and then this isn't the solution you go with. Then we're in a time crunch. Then we've wasted way more time than we have.
We're up a creek is what we are at that point.
So I would amend my motion to, what? Postpone until a date certain of October 30th, 7 PM in council chambers.
And second concurs.
October 30th, huh?
Yeah, Monday, October 30th. This 31st would be a bad idea.
Yes, that's Halloween.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Now that my kids are grown, I don't do the trick-or-treating thing, so.
You get to hand out candy.
Handing out candy is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it used to be, but my hill, people won't climb my hill.
Oh,
I go to mom's.
I see. I
Do
see.
that to hers.
I'm fine with that. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are about
Are you
it.
good on the 30th?
Yeah.
Well, are you available? Not that you agree, but are you available?
Yeah,
You
We could
available on the 30th?
will make it.
I will be available. I'm not, but I will be.
You have a conflict. I mean, we can pick
For
it
that?
up.
We could make, we
Yeah.
could make,
I
we
got-
could
I
make
got
it,
something at 7 o'clock on that night, but.
we,
I can make it earlier.
we could,
We
we
do
could
like
make
at
it earlier
5 or
as long as you're okay with
Well-
telephone.
Well, we gotta get him
come
time
back
to
from
fix
work.
that.
Well, if you're okay with it, I know you hate the phone, but I think it would be a pretty
Can you
straightforward
make it
meeting.
back by 6 or no?
Maybe, maybe not. Don't worry about me. I'll appear one way or the other if you don't mind the phone.
6.
Or even 5 if that's better for you.
So don't-
If he's
don't
gonna
worry
put
about
you
me.
on the phone.
Make it whenever it's more convenient for you to actually be there, and I'll figure it out.
We're that important, you sure?
Yep,
I'm just kidding.
yep, you are.
6 is fine with me.
Yeah, 6 would be.
You have
Does
to
that
be
work
somewhere
better
at
for
7.
you?
Yep.
Okay.
That'll work.
6, okay, so
Alright,
you
so I'll
amend
amend it
your,
again to 6.
and I concur.
All right. We have a motion on the table to postpone until October 30th at 6 o'clock. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-233, resolution to dispose of certain property interests located on parts of Lot 1 and 4 Hotel Plaza at the MAC, Replat 1, and also part of Outlot A, Arena Way, Hotel Plaza at the MAC, Replat 1, by granting an easement for the benefit of the Board of Waterworks trustees for the City of Council Bluffs.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Some might not be, I think the one ladies. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-234, a resolution authorizing a joint application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority by the City of Council Bluffs and Emmanuel for workforce housing tax incentive program benefits.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-235, resolution of intent to dispose of city property legally described as lots 1 through 16, Block 12, and all vacated alley adjacent Bryant and Clark addition.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
This is set in a public hearing, correct?
It's a resolution of intent to dispose, so we're not actually disposing it, right?
Right, so it's moving and setting the public hearing.
I don't know if it
it's
actually
not
is a public
setting a pub-
hearing.
That's what it reads.
We would
Does it?
have to have a hearing to dispose of the
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it reads set
Sorry.
public
The
hearing. I just
second
want to make sure.
Sorry. Yep, you're right. Sorry.
Okay.
What?
So do we need to set a public hearing for November as part of that then?
Yeah.
11:13.
Am I on the wrong one?
Well, it just doesn't have it on.
17
there.
to
No, it's the
35.
intent, and then they
Yeah.
do the,
Oh.
it's a different resolution the next time.
I'll say it doesn't
No,
say.
no, you're
So there's no
you're
public
absolutely.
Hearing, it's.
Well, doesn't it require one though? No.
That's what the
I'm
motion,
asking
Disposal of city property requires a public.
Okay, all right. Yep, so, yeah,
So
I don't know who made the
we
motion.
need to start putting that on the staff.
Well, they do it
thing.
as two separate resolutions, and so this is the intent, and then the next one would be under the public hearings. But I can, yeah, we can
Yeah,
certainly add it.
I would put that, I mean, I read it, that's what it reads deeper in, but not
Yeah,
on
the
the.
packet said about the.
I don't remember.
All right,
It's-
it's a public hearing then.
I don't know who made the motion.
Who made the motion? I honestly don't
Karen.
remember.
Yeah, I made it.
None of us have eaten, so
know.
I think it's really getting.
I'm withering
Yeah.
away, can you tell?
Me too.
It's that public
All
hearing,
right.
there it is. Yep,
We have,
sorry
we
about
have a
that.
motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second.
And any further discussion?
Just that, really glad to see this project coming back. I'm really hopeful that this time they'll be able to move forward and get this built. This is something we really need, the senior housing, so, and especially in the west end of town where we really just do not have a lot of availability for senior living, so I was just really pleased to see this coming back.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-236, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative agreement with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for a REAP, Resource Enforcement and Protection, Enhancement and Protection Grant for the Tom Hannafin's River Edge Park Woodland Restoration Phase 1 project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
I just briefly want to thank the Parks Department. I think this is yet another REAP grant, another grant from the state of Iowa, an environmental grant. We've had some for Fairmont Park. Now we have one for the restoration of some woodland along the river's edge there, literally at River's Edge Park. And I want to commend them for continuing to put forward solid proposals in a competitive process and grabbing more of those state tax dollars you pay for to increase the beauty and the environmental sustainability of our community. So thank you.
Other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-237, resolution accepting the bid of Simon's Industry, Inc. in the amount of $143,899 to provide HVAC controls for the police department headquarters project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-238, accepting the bid of Security Equipment, Inc. in the amount of $157,661 to provide security equipment for the police department headquarters project.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-239, resolution rejecting all the bids and authorizing a rebid for emergency generator equipment for the police department headquarters project.
Is there a motion?
Motion to reject and rebid.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I was curious why the two bids that were received didn't meet the specifications.
Remember, Dick?
One,
they
yeah.
both didn't?
it was supposed to be a specific brands that were being, we were seeking bids on, and one was, but the other one was not. Plus, and if they were going to do that, they were supposed to fill out or provide the specifications of the alternate product that they were trying to provide us. And the other one, there was some other.
Similar, related.
Yeah.
Wow,
I'll tell you
that's
exactly what it was.
Paragraph that was taken out.
It is unusual. We never got a chance to ask this question this afternoon. There wasn't
That
any
was another
time.
one.
Yeah, it's just unusual if you get two bids and neither one of them meet the
Qualified.
requirements, so.
Oops.
All right, that was my only question.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-240, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a reimbursement agreement with the Mid-American Energy Company for levy pole mitigation in connection with the levy certification project.
Motion to approve?
Sec.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Resolution 17-241, resolution approving the abolishment of one full-time records technician position, abolishment of one part-time identification technician position, and the creation of one full-time CSI police services manager position within the police department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Any citizens requesting to be heard?
Yep.
Anyone from the audience? Can you give your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Andrew Morris, 10566 Woodland Trail, Council Bluffs, Iowa, 51503. Regard to, I think you had requested an address where it gave coordinates.
The one you were talking about?
Yeah, specific address. Well, that, I just mean for everything, not just your guys' property. So just in general,
Yeah.
Right.
on all of our stuff, we have legal addresses.
Okay.
So not just, yeah, I didn't mean just your specific.
Okay.
Just in
You're
general,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need
You
your
don't need
address
that
tonight.
one. Okay, got it.
No, I appreciate it, but no, just in general.
It's just easier for someone to identify by the common address.
Right.
rather than
Yeah.
Right, I didn't even
Meets
know
and
that.
bounds or,
Yeah, not yours specifically, but I appreciate it.
Yep.
And I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bruce Kelly, 864 McKenzie Avenue. Same thing, bike trail, McKenzie to Sims Avenue. And if you're not home by 6:30, I'm going to have my kids TP your house.
anyone else? From the council?
Sharon, I want to apologize for raising my voice earlier, but to insinuate that I don't respect the opinion of a department head, especially Larry, that's just not true, so. But
No, I
apologize for
was
raising my
not
voice.
even trying to insinuate that, Roger, and I apologize if it came across that way. Just that we were at study session, but the people at home watching weren't. And so they don't know what the position of the parks director was. So that's the
Well,
reason
it's
I
in the
said
packet,
it.
but yeah.
Well, but the people at home don't have the packet. They're watching it on TV. They have no idea what Larry has told us. So my reasoning more for saying that was so that they understood the position of the parks director, whom we hired to give us his recommendations. So it wasn't directed at council at all.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, yeah. Sure.
Do I need to state again? Andrew, no? Okay. About that property that I was talking about,
Yeah.
is there, I think I missed it. Did you
Good.
say, we're good?
We're good, yeah.
You're good.
All right, thank
You're
you.
good.
Third reading, you're done, you're good
Just
to go.
quick, should we talk about the,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Thanks,
we're
Rich.
obviously wearing pink again tonight, and these t-shirts can be purchased, Jody, you probably know more than I do, where can they purchase?
From the Jenny Edmondson, there's several people that have them,
Do you know where?
but I don't know a list
10
of them,
bucks.
but, yep.
I know, I was trying to think of where you could purchase them, but yeah, they're $10.
You can call Jenny, they'll tell
Call
you.
Jen, yeah, and they have hoodies, sweatshirts as well, and it all goes to help with breast cancer again this week, so.
All right. Thank you all for attending, and have a safe week, and
See you in a week.
be careful on Halloween. Yeah.